Happy Monday, good morning to Facebook. Jackie Broman here from TBA Law, going live like I do most Mondays to give you a short little snippet of information. So today I wanted to talk about estate planning for farming families. A unique group really, farming families, because they come with a whole set of their own issues or challenges. So similarly to blended families, I suppose there are a number of competing interests that lie in the family with farming families. The other unique situation about farming families is that they're quite often very asset rich and cash poor. So most of their assets are farming assets, land, stock, equipment, and it's all necessary for the running of the farm. They haven't, throughout their life, put money away into super. They haven't developed off-farm assets quite often. So, and as farming has got more and more difficult in Australia, the whole landowning, which is often quite large, is necessary to make the farm even viable. Then you've got the situation in the family where one or two of the children have stayed on farm and the rest of the children have gone off farm. So quite often you've got children on farm who are working for less than market value with the promise that their work will pay off further down the track in the form of inheritance. And the off-farm children have been able to pursue other opportunities, education, and been able to build up their own wealth, whereas the ones on farm quite often haven't been able to. So, I mean, that's the extreme scenario. The earlier a farmer starts their succession planning, the better. The reason being is that we need to look at developing some off-farm assets if possible. Putting money into super, putting money into potentially insurance bonds or other things can work very well. Or the other thing that farmers could look at are multiple potentially family farming trusts and have land going into one or more farming trusts, and then setting up leases and having the control of some of these farming trusts transferred to particular children, but leases are firmly in place for the children who want to stay on farm. So, as I said, there are a lot of factors, and every farming family is slightly different, and what assets they hold and what the value of them are and what they have off farm. So it is important really to dive quite deep into this sort of stuff and look strategically at the options for them. So, like I was saying, developing off-farm assets is quite important. If you've got off-farm assets, you've got assets then to give to the children who haven't stayed on the farm, because then the farming assets can be left to the child who is farming. The use of trusts can be very important. As I said, you can then transfer the control of trusts. It also removes assets from the estate. So in case there is a dispute of the estate, if firstly, the on-farm child doesn't think they're getting enough of the farm, or secondly, an off-farm child doesn't think they're getting enough inheritance. So there can be claims rife in this sort of scenario with farming families. So the use of trusts is a way of getting land out of the names of the parents and into trusts, and then the trusts can be, the control of them can transfer to various children without having to go through the will, so they can't be disputed. But setting up then lease back arrangements. So as I said before, for farming to be viable, quite often there has to be a lot of land these days. So the child who wants to stay on farm, to be left a viable farm, they need still to be able to farm it all, but they may not own all the land. So there could be locked in some leases for that child to be able to lease from the other children. So then it's up to the other children. If they want to sell that land, that's fine, but there's a lease locked in so that any future landlord is locked into that lease as well. So you know, there's lots of things we can do strategically for farming families, and I do work closely with quite a few succession planning farming experts in and around these areas that jump in deep and look at what trusts are best, look at life insurance, look at super. So they dive deep on the financial side and then let me know how best to structure things, and we work on that together. So, estate planning for farming families. In fact, on I think the 23rd of May, it's a Thursday in a couple of weeks' time, I am running a webinar. It'll go for about 45 minutes with one of the financial planners, Stephen Waite, from over at the Farm Protectors. They're based in Bendigo and Mildura, and we do a lot of work with them. So they're coming on to do a co-webinar with me, and we're going to run through a couple of case studies for some families that we have both jointly worked on that have achieved really great results. So if you do want to jump onto that webinar, have a look at the events page on our Facebook page. You've got the link there to be able to register for that webinar. Otherwise, on our website, on the webinar page, again, there's a place there with a link to register for that webinar if that's of interest to you. So, having said all that, that is the little snippet of information for our Facebook Lives on Mondays. I will be here again next Monday.